Hello and good morning, and welcome to Ask the Expert, a daily series from 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. to help small businesses. Now, ask any questions in the comments or hashtag QBATE on Twitter. If you need any more advice, join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7. Now, Aslam. I'm Shoaib Aslam. I'm a practicing chartered accountant, qualified from the Big Four. I went into business almost 12 years ago, and I head up a leading accountancy practice in London. We're also QuickBooks Pro advisors. I run a number of other successful businesses, including e-commerce. My specialism lies in helping small businesses with all aspects of growth and productivity. For instance, what softwares should we be using for our small businesses? And as we know, there's a lot of cloud-based applications now that have an open API, and there's a lot of benefits using that. Or what sort of integrations or integration tools should we be looking at? We know of tools such as Zapier or Automate, as well as productivity tools. We should also be looking at some, certain benefits of cloud accounting solutions. Obviously, with Intuit, it's got its built-in features. But historically, a lot of people they've been using, for instance, accounting tools. They've used their accounting software that's been desktop. They've used a different software for payroll. They've tried to merge the data together, put in journals. And again, it's not just increased the workload of the accountant, but it's also increased the workload of the client, passing that information and for reporting purposes. As we know, with a lot of softwares now, you've got built-in tools that has payroll, for example, QuickBooks Payroll, that's built in. That means at the end of the month, you can actually see the reports, which gives you a very accurate data in terms of how much profit, how much loss you've made based on the payroll data that you've run. Now, in terms of the obviously, the recent announcement with government schemes, with in my previous shows, I've talked about the reduced VAT, and as we're hitting August now, obviously there are incentives for restaurants, for instance, and we've also talked about the furlough scheme as well in terms of the MTD. But what I really want to discuss is how can we come out of COVID-19 now as the ease down approaches stronger than we actually went into. And what have we done during these past few months, and what will we do in the next few months until we're still working from home with most with some and most of us. Now, are we looking at the tools in order to make our businesses more productive? For example, using OCR technology, and we know we can very easily capture data. We can go in and have information to be able to upload receipts into our accounting solutions, or whether are we really utilizing that contact data that we have, and manage our databases, have all the leads, and have various other workflows to make our processes much more efficient. Now, again, it depends on what business you're in. A lot of businesses we speak to, if you're using the right solutions, obviously, what that essentially means is you've got the access to be able to remarket, to your clients using particularly emails or email campaigns, or perhaps ask them for feedback, or be able to resell other items on e-commerce. And there's a lot of things that we can do using these very clever pieces of softwares that are CRMs, and that's really, really important. Again, it's if you're in the e-commerce industry, it is really important to be able to manage your stock. If you're selling physical stock, do we have the right inventory tools to be able to make those decisions in terms of the inventory count. I come across a lot of businesses. I myself own a number of other e-commerce solutions, and I know how important it is to be able to know the quantity of our stock, how much buffer do we need, all background reporting in terms of what knock-on effect will it have if I made 20% more sales today, how much more buffer do I need? And it's important decisions like that that can affect your working capital, that can affect your cash flow, amongst other things. It's also so important to be looking at accounting solutions for e-commerce that can reduce your accounting burden. So, for example, if you're using the likes of Shopify, BigCommerce, or if you're using Sales Cloud, I mean, very few people use Sales Cloud primarily because it's very, very expensive. Um, but are we linking all these together to our accounting solutions? I've come across a number of people. They've been using WooCommerce, for instance, for a number of years and exporting those reports, not being able to link that to their accounting platforms, which has not only increased their workload, but the workload of the accountant. But if we can use tools to integrate them together, we can have very clever real-time reporting into our accounting solutions. Again, what I want to also talk about is the recent, obviously, work from home pandemic and the issue that's had on as a knock-on effect on remote working. Now, as we know, obviously, working from home has its own benefits, but at the same time, there's a lot of disadvantages as well. And that is why it's so important to be able to look into various other aspects of automation. If you are going to be working from home for the next couple of months, are we looking at tools to be able to automate our workflows? Are we also looking at this time to be able to identify whether our staff, they are working productivity? Is there productivity within our business? Is there utilization of our resources? And again, how do we cross communicate that data? Obviously, as we went into the pandemic, the tools such as Microsoft Teams and Zoom, or Ring Central, Circle Loop, another one, they became very, very popular, and it was really important to be able to use these tools to be able to communicate. What we're seeing now is there's a lot more tools now that are making us even more productive, and we're seeing small businesses actually go out of their way and utilize that time and identify these opportunities to be able to work a lot more productively. We've got loads of questions coming up, and please do ask them on Facebook Messenger or on Twitter. We've got Instagram as well, and YouTube Live. So please do ask these questions. Keep bringing them in. But as I mentioned, it is very, very important we look at our current infrastructure, the architect of our accounting solutions. Whether you're an e-commerce platform, whether you're a brick and mortar, there is some element of automation that you can introduce that can help you reduce that time, but more importantly, help you grow. Now, we have a very strong marketing team, and I've worked in a number of other areas of business, and one of the most important things is to be able to use these tools that can help cross market to your customers. So, for instance, if you're using a CRM, coming back to that, I know we're getting a few questions being asked on that as I speak, but based on that, for instance, if you can have a very solid CRM and you've made an order from an e-commerce platform, what do you truly do with that data? Do you go into that platform and identify through perhaps Google Analytics the behavior of that business? Or do you go into that platform and see the cross communication or the exchange of telephone calls in one particular platform? Now, there are tools that can go even further and identify the behavior of that lead on your website, or it can even change the layout of your website design based on the activity that you've performed on that website. So if you've gone on to Nike trainers and you've been looking at the Nike trainers, and then you've gone in next time and you've looked at Nike trainers again, there is a cookie period and it stores those cookies. And based on your IP and details, next time you go in through Einstein products, as Salesforce defines them, these products then actually change the whole layout and actually give you that experience that you're looking for, because it knows that you're interested in perhaps trainers. Again, are we using Facebook marketing? Are we using social media marketing? There are, very quick fixes such as Facebook pixels, which we've seen a huge rate of return, and that can be retargeted. So you quite simply get your developer to install a plugin for Facebook pixel, and what you can do site, you can go back and remarket them on social media. You can actually show them what products they were looking at if you have a particular tag manager installed for each page. So if, for example, they're looking at trainers and you want them to look at trainers, or if they went onto the tracksuit bottoms landing page, then you can actually promote that particular product back on Facebook. And again, it's very, very effective. You can use various other marketing tools to identify the rate of return. There's SEMrush, there's Ahrefs, the list goes on. And using all that, you can identify what your cost per click was. And that's another element as we come out of COVID-19. It's important to be able to invest our buck into the right rate of return investment. So if, for instance, you're investing your money into Google AdWords, is that more worth it than social media ads, and vice versa? So it's really, really important to be able to look into that. Like I said, do have the questions coming in. I'm going to crack in and answer the first question. We've got a question from Sadie, that's from Twitter. It's a direct message. How do you think businesses can benefit future-proof their company, especially with the self-employed income support loans being due at some point next year? Now, again, I think in terms of future-proofing your company, it's really, really important to be able to support your businesses for the next 12 or 6 months, because it's very, very difficult times. It is a difficult period, and if you can actually survive this pandemic, if you can come out of this much stronger, remember, a lot of people still have a lot of cash, and obviously there's going to be some element of inflation over the next few years. So if you can survive and you have a very robust business model, that is going to be the most important things. Obviously, we're introducing some employment loans. There are government incentives this year, and there are incentives next year as well. So, in terms of making your business much more stronger, I would look at what your business model is. How can you perhaps introduce elements to increase your profit margins? How can you retain your key assets? If you're in a consultancy business, for example, your HR, that's very, very important. We've got another message coming here from Tyler from Facebook Messenger, and he's mentioned, "Hi Shoaib, we're an accountancy firm with about 15 employees based in Newcastle. We're wanting to move to a digital practice and are taking baby steps. We already use QuickBooks. What do you think the next steps are to ensure we'll never need to use a piece of paper again?" Well, a very, very good question, Tyler, and quite an interesting one, because one of my other businesses is We Run Your Practice. With We Run Your Practice, and it's funny you've mentioned this, because last 2 weeks ago, Friday, it was announced that we've been a finalist for the most digital and innovative firm of the year. So we're amongst the top 5 in the UK, and we use, RPA and artificial intelligence and so many other great tools out there. And we run the accountancy firms for other accountancy firms as well as having our own accountancy firm along with my other businesses. And again, wearing several different hats at once. Obviously, it gives us an idea of what platforms should be using. I think in order to have a digital practice, and this is something we're very proud of, and I think it is really important first of all take a step back, think about what platforms you're currently using, okay, write them down, brainstorm them, and then identify, okay, how many applications am I using? Okay, I'm using 10 applications to run my accountancy practice. What do I need to be using? What are the great tools out there? And try and look at tools that are cloud-based. Be a bit more biased towards, obviously, the cloud. Obviously, QuickBooks being one of them, it's brilliant because you can buy bureau licenses as an accountant, and it's fairly reasonable. I've done a lot of market research comparatively to some of the other software vendors out there. You can buy bureau licenses for as cheap as I mean, I'm not going to go into the prices, but you can get really, really cheap licenses. Now, what that means is you can offer that to your clients. Okay, you can offer that to your clients as part of your package. You can also link that to several other tools. Like I said, if your clients are Shopify customers, they're using e-commerce, you can actually link that to various other platforms, which reduces your time. Okay, you can have bank feeds, and you can also run payroll within QuickBooks. So you don't need other third-party applications. In addition to QuickBooks, it could be one platform that can manage everything for you. And that is really, really important, because the last thing you want to do is actually journal in that information again, and whereas QuickBooks can do. And again, you can use various other third-party tools or QuickBooks native tools that can help you store data within QuickBooks. So for example, if you are using QuickBooks and you want to be able to upload the PDF receipts and invoices, well, quite simply take a picture and it uploads that. But at the same time, it can remember what that line item was. Now, if it says, for example, W.H. Smith, and that's going to be stationary, next time it's going to remember W.H. Smith was stationary, for instance, and you've just got to go in and approve that. So I think, have a look at that. But in terms of the bigger picture, have a look at what applications should I be using? How can I make them communicate to each other? If you're using onboarding tools, to send engagement letters, do they link with QuickBooks? Okay, and this is why it's important to do that summary first, because if you go with QuickBooks or if you go with another application and then you realize actually I really need this third-party tool and it doesn't cross-communicate, then you're pretty much stuck. So it's really important to be able to see the bigger picture and then decide, okay, well, is this the right solution? It's also important to be able to look at the integrations between them as well. Do you need a custom built-in integration, or can you have something like Zapier to be able to communicate? So I'd look at that. I think that's really, really important as an accountancy practice. Our profit margins are, it's a very tight margin industry. So it's really important to be using the right productivity tools in the first place. We've got a question here from Addy, and this is from Instagram, and this is a direct message. With the new apprenticeship scheme, are there any specific dates to know about when I need to take an apprentice on for a specific time, like 6 months? My company is growing and I feel taking on an apprentice would be great in these uncertain times. Well, great question, Eddie. I think one of the most important things is to be able to, first of all, identify, do I need an apprentice? And don't just take on an apprentice for the sake of it. I think the government is, obviously encouraging that, and that's a brilliant initiative. And if you feel actually, this is something that I can benefit from, as you know, there are government subsidies if you take on an apprentice in a particular age group. Then you will be entitled to a subsidy by the government. In terms of the dates, at the moment, all that information has been provided by the government in terms of on their website. So the deadlines go until January. So, keep a watch out for that. But you can start taking on apprentices now and benefit from this scheme. we've got another question coming up, and this is a question from Gregory. It's from Facebook Messenger. The question is, hi Shoaib, thanks for your time so far. Do you have any plans for Pearl Accountants to expand as an accountancy practice? Uh, what do you assess before you make any developments? What do we assess before we make any developments? Um, I think for me, it's all about a pro and con analysis. So, if, for example, we were about to go out and for instance, we went out and developed a few robots, right? And we wanted our clients to benefit from automation. We wanted our clients to perhaps benefit from a real-time dashboard, or our clients to benefit from other great tools. Then we'd go out and first of all assess a profit and loss scenario. What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? And that's really, really important. We also try and find out how much demand is there for this particular service. So, for instance, is there a demand for giving our clients tailor-made reports? Well, majority of small businesses may not need tailor-made reports because you can derive that from QuickBooks. There are, however, certain clients that may be very lucrative, that need particular custom-made reports with KPI analysis or a scenario-based analysis. What will happen to your cash flow if you were to buy another piece of stock for £200,000? What knock-on effect does that have on your cash flow, on your KPIs, on your working capital, your profitability? Where will you be in the next 6 to 12 months? Is it a short-term, dip with a long-term boom? So, where do you actually stand in terms of your business? So, we look at those kind of contingency-based scenarios and help our clients make the right decisions using those reports. Now, obviously, this is normally for slightly bigger businesses or businesses that require a bit more value-added hand-holding approach. And again, that's really, really important. So it's important to be able to look at that scenario and actually, really be able to assist and look into different aspects of like I said, advantages and disadvantages before making a decision on whether we should execute that project. And again, one of the most important things is also to help our customers. Are we going out of our way to help our customers? Now, remember, you're an accountancy practice owner, so as we know, yes, there's compliance, but if we can help our clients grow, and handhold them, in 5 years' time, we've got a great client retention. And we know how difficult it is sometimes to get new leads. So it's really, really important we retain that information as well. We've got more questions coming up. And we've got a question from Alice from Instagram. It's a direct message. Hey Shoaib, thank you so much for your guidance today. We are a jewelry restoration company based in Windsor. Not too far from us. We're in West London as well. We're going to be opening up again next week. We're worried that customers may still be cautious of going outside and therefore may not visit. Do you have any advice for ourselves and other businesses out there and how we can anticipate and overcome that scenario? Now, I think that's a brilliant question. I think, Alice, this is exactly what you need to be thinking. It appears that you're a brick and mortar business. What I would perhaps look at is as a shop-based business, perhaps. Are we promoting our business online? Are we promoting our business where people can perhaps, obviously you deal with jewelry, so it's high value goods. What if you had, and I'm just thinking out loud, what if you had an e-commerce platform and someone requested, I don't know, your services online, and there was a pickup service. And every time you picked something up, there was perhaps something, a driver, you have your own personal drivers go and pick up those products, and they charge a markup. I think that reduces and it increases the demand, because now you're almost all over London and you're getting customers which you may not have got before, um, and you're making you're not making a loss anymore because you're paying someone to pick up the goods. You can't get them to post this because it's high value stuff. But if that was an idea, I mean, if I had to restore my jewelry, I wouldn't mind someone coming over to my house, paying another 50 quid, showing them and getting some sort of receipt. I think that could be a gap in the market. I don't know. But I'm sure there's a lot of other things that you can do to make your business stronger as well. We've got a question here from Nathaniel from Facebook Messenger. Morning, Shoaib. Will businesses be allowed to reopen again? And what would you advise for business owners to be aware of that increased productivity and efficiency? I think yes, absolutely. I mean, look, there will be. I think it's just a matter of time. I think there's a lot of fear. But once businesses do, I think there's going to be a lot of competition. I think businesses will be thinking, depending on the business industry that you operate, they'll be thinking outside the box, and they'll be thinking more cloud-based. They'll be looking at efficiencies. They'll be looking at contingency planning as well. We've got questions coming up. Mike from Twitter, and that is, good morning, Shoaib. What kind of AI technologies are you seeing working within small businesses? A huge question here, Mike. It really depends. There's a lot of things that we can discuss: automation to RPA to AI. For businesses that truly understand that, there's a lot of things that can be done. Again, guys, we're just approaching the end of the show here. So earlier during the video, obviously, we ran a poll on Facebook live feed. We asked the question, do you currently use any apps for QuickBooks? And so I thought I'm going to share the results. 75% of you clicked on yes, which is brilliant, and 13% clicked on no. I've not considered it, and 13% clicked on I don't know. So that's almost about 26%, 25%, 26% of people have actually not been using apps. So I think this is perhaps the first steps that you should be undertaking. Have a look at a lot of apps on the QuickBooks Market App Exchange, and some of them directly link into QuickBooks. Some of them take a bit of time. So it's really, really important. And you have a look at that. But there's a lot that can be said here. We are approaching the end of the show, guys. So any questions, obviously, get in touch with QuickBooks support team or Facebook or myself on 0208 582 0076. You can head over to our website, and that's pearlaccountants.com, PEARL accountants.com. You can get in touch with me if there's anything about automation or e-commerce or anything. Would be delighted to help you. Coming up tomorrow, we've got on Ask the Expert tomorrow, we've got Johan Gori, who's an MD of JGBC, one of the QuickBooks top pro advisors based in Edinburgh. Now, Johan is a startup specialist accountant, so tune in, ask him any questions as you may tomorrow. Otherwise, I'm Shoaib Aslam. Thank you guys so much for watching, and stay safe.